If you're trying to get hired after 50 and the job market's gone completely silent on you, you are not imagining it. I am going to be brutally honest with you. The problem isn't your age, it's how you're showing up. Let me tell you about the Curve Buster. When I was a young man, I went to college at about 27 years of age. And when I got to the college, all of the young people that were free from their home for the first time had a different perspective. They had the liberation to do whatever they want. They had the ability to party, the ability to see a bunch of young adults. And I went in there with a seriousness. I went in there with a precision. I went there with an agenda. And one day this one young man came up to me and said, "You're a curve buster." And I said, "I'm a what?" He says, "You're a curve buster. They grade us on a curve, and the older people that go to college, they take it more seriously." That's exactly what you want to be right now in today's market. It's time for you to be more precise, more intentional, and more aware, because fear is real. More and more people are losing their jobs. And when they go out and they shotgun their resume, it seems like the market has gone silent. Now, one reason is because these companies are receiving too many resumes, so they just automatically turn them down. And when you're applying and waiting, you may not feel secure. What if you can't get these next 10 years of income, 15, 20 years of income that you planned on getting to sustain you and your beautiful family for the next years after that? So now you're in survival, and this anxiety that you have, this fear that you have, is not helping you get to where you need to go. And this can challenge your sense of identification as being a provider, identifying with your job, identifying if you're even marketable or valuable today. I get that because I'm here with you. Oftentimes when I train classes, I ask them, is life fair? And the first thing they say is no. And that's what I say. Age bias is real, so let's acknowledge it. But what can we do about it? Now, here's a simplistic way of looking at it. You can be a victim to it, you can villainize it, or you can go ahead and accept it and take responsibility and become an outlier. As I said earlier with the Curve Buster, age bias exists. Don't minimize it, but pivot within the market and control the things that you can actually control. Control the assumptions that the employers have with people that are older. 80% of success is showing up. How many people show up for their employment? How many people show up for their family? The majority don't. This is where you show up. You show up for this part of your life, and you show up for when you get your job at a new level. This is going to make you a contrasting outlier that's going to move you to the front of the line. The employers, they're not rejecting you. They're rejecting their assumptions they have on you based upon their past experiences. They're thinking that they might have to pay you too much. They're thinking that you might not be adaptable. They're thinking that you might go too slow, and you have to show them that none of those assumptions are true. They have a perception of you, and that perception of you is based upon their past experiences. I tell salespeople what we're doing is we're changing human perception. Everybody's a salesperson, and what you have to do is sell your employer on you. So your job is to change their perception of you. And that is very doable, especially after you become more self-aware. Now let's get real for a second. Time does not validate anymore. You can't say, I've done this for 25 years and think that anybody cares. You can't say that I went to college here and I had my thesis on this, name dropping your past, thinking it's going to validate you in this moment. It's kind of like the song, "What have you done for me lately?" What have you done lately? They want proof of work. They want to see what you've done recently, and that's going to be tenure every single time. So when you go into this situation, understanding that proof of work is what you need, have the ability to go to AI, whichever one you're using, and ask them, hey, can you help me find some proof of work that I've done in my past? It's going to ask you questions, and you're going to data mine your past to bring the relevant information that's going to make you more valuable. I have been in corporate America for 25 years. I've seen older people spin circles around younger coworkers. Their work ethic, unparalleled, end of the bell curve. They'll always go the extra mile, 100% intact. Politically correct, absolutely. But they burn out. And that's what you don't want to do in today's market. We have to have the ability to sustain high performance, and we have to get processes in place to increase the ability to sustain high performance. And that's exactly what I want to give you in the rest of this video. At the beginning of the video, I said it's how you're showing up. This isn't a skills problem, it's a positioning problem. A lot of people do not understand how to emotionally regulate. They do not understand what they're putting out there. And oftentimes when you have enthusiasm, you set off a wave for people to perceive you with. You set off a persona that people perceive you with. So when you take an action with no enthusiasm, it's a different action. If you have two people in a survival situation and one has hope and the other one doesn't, which one do you think will survive longer? 100% of them will say hope. Then there was a study with rats, and they put the rat in a cylinder of water and they had it stay in the water to see how long it could tread water before it drowned. It was about 15 minutes. They did the same study with another rat, but after 5 minutes, they pulled it out of the water, they gave it some food, put it back in the water. How long did that rat tread water for? 60 hours, because it had hope. But if you have hope and you don't put any action into it, you're not going to survive. Hope is enough to keep you going, but it's the action that's going to keep you going. So the same thing is true in an opposite manner. When you have action without enthusiasm, it's not as effective. So when you go to work and you do your job, but you don't have the enthusiasm behind your job, that's going to have an absolute effect on how people show up. And now this is a skill. This is where you learn to master your emotions from the inside out versus being controlled from the outside in. And this is something that you can absolutely attain in this market. In a sales floor, you get the top salesperson and they're walking with vigor and enthusiasm, and the person that's at the bottom or in the middle, they meander. They're just moving along slowly. One person has enthusiasm in their step. When you go to work and you take the action with the enthusiasm behind it, it's going to be a game changer. It's about having a real reason to be there. That realness is what the employers will feel. When an employer feels that combination, they don't let it go. People like themselves. And most of the people in today's world are scared and insecure. The person who walks in calm and open, genuinely wanting to be there, stands out immediately. That vibe is what takes all of your actions and lands them in the room. 3 actions for you to remember today's market. Action 1 is proof of work. It's not your years anymore. It's not that I have 10 years of this, 20 years of this. You want to show them what you have actually done. Update your resume utilizing AI. In fact, use 3 different AIs and see which one's the best. Oftentimes I'll take it to Gemini, then I'll go to Chat, and then I'll go to Anthropic or Claude, and I'll have them all look at it. Recently, my wife was applying for a job. I said, give me your old resume, give me the job requirements. I put the job requirements in with the resume, and it instantaneously gave me a fantastic cover letter, a fantastic resume, and then it gave her things to say for the interview. It gave suggestions what to do to get the job. If you're not using the AI, this is a huge mistake. The thing that's taking your job is the thing that's going to keep your job. So you want to be able to use the AI. I saw in an article recently, it's not AI adoption that's the problem for people right now. It's the people that are using AI that's the problem. So this is where you want to be the problem in this situation, because you're going to distance yourself ahead of everybody that doesn't. Action 2, you have to have an open mind. Every generation thinks differently. They have their own psychology. Gen Z, millennials, Gen X, baby boomers, and so on. We all think differently, and oftentimes we don't understand each other. So if you're a senior and you have a younger supervisor and you're judging them, do you think that matters? That matters. Have you ever had a coworker that you didn't like, but you were kind to them and you were friendly to them and you were professional with them? They can still pick up that vibe. It's so important right now that you have the ability to regulate your vibe and learn to go in there with a position of mastering these relationships and bringing love, if you will, or at a minimum, like to the table. This will change the game. If you go in there with resistance, that's a problem. So if I don't like my younger supervisor, I'm resisting them. If I don't like this Gen Zer, I'm resisting them. If I don't like this Gen Xer, I'm resisting them. And this is where you bring the curve buster in. You're not only serious with the enthusiasm, but you're also serious with how you choose to go in there and bring the love. And this requires you to set yourself up every evening to let go of the baggage so you can come in fresh every day. Action 3, quiet enthusiasm. If I go in there too big, I go in there too loud, I go in there, wow, it's a beautiful day, and everybody's thinking it's a horrible day, that's a problem. So you have to take that enthusiasm and you have to bridle it in. So you put that quiet enthusiasm that pushes your actions along. People are going to pick up that vibe. They're going to see the sparkle in your eyes. They're going to see that you don't get triggered. They're going to look at you as the person to come to. This is what you want to do. When in Rome, do as the Romans. Otherwise, they kill you. So if you're around a bunch of people with anxiety and you're overly enthusiastic, it's going to be a mismatch. Now, I'm not saying don't be enthusiastic. Be enthusiastic. That's why you have to give yourself a purpose. Give this year a purpose. See yourself as a player on the team. See how can you bring the value. This enthusiasm is going to keep you going. This is the hope that kept the warrior alive. This is the hope that kept the rat treading water for 60 hours. This entire video has been from my perspective, and that's all I can come from. But I'm telling you, vibe matters, and you have to be aware of the energy that you're bringing to your table. Your vibe is going to have an effect on how you perceive, and it's going to have an effect on how they perceive you. So when they say control the controllables, when you learn to control your vibe, what you're doing is you're changing your life. I have been watching people at corporate America for many years. I want to say something that I think you need to hear. Job hunting after 50 can make you feel humiliated in ways that are almost impossible to admit out loud. It can make you question everything you built, everything you gave, everything that you've showed up for. And that weight is real. But I need you to hear this clearly. You are not obsolete. You are not done, and you are not disqualified from meaningful work because the process got harder. You're someone who's been through pressure before. And here's what pressure does when you don't run from it. It builds you. That fear that nobody will hire you after 50, that's not your future. That's just you projecting and your ego wanting you to keep you safe. Don't believe it. You've handled pressure before, and you're going to handle it again. This is no different. So go back as the curve buster. Roll up your sleeves. Update that resume. Use AI. It's better than anything you write alone. Trust me. Pull your proof of work. Get it all together. Call people who know what you've done. Walk in with an open mind and good energy. Not intense, not too heavy, just focused. Go in as someone who takes this more seriously than anyone else in the room. But make it look easy, because that person is very hard to ignore. It's not too late. It was never too late. It's just time to bust the curve. If this reached you today, subscribe. We're building people who can handle pressure, stay employable, and come back stronger. We're not here to avoid the avalanche. We're here to move through it. We're turning snowflakes into diamonds.